Making the headlines tonight. Prime Minister Hun Sen declares students a priority group for the COVID-19 vaccine. Prime Minister Hun Sen says he recently shed tears when seeing the progress and happiness of the people under his leadership. Israel lambasts Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov for claiming Adolf Hitler had Jewish origins. German tennis great Boris Becker is sentenced to 2.5 years in jail after being found guilty during a bankruptcy trial in London. And the Met Gala returns to its traditional date of the first Monday in May, just 8 months after 2021's pandemic-delayed event in September. This is the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. A very good evening to you. I'm Darshana Gauchan. Prime Minister Hun Sen has declared all students nationwide a priority group for the COVID-19 vaccine to protect their health and promote a stronger education for all students. EAC News reporter Decca Nin has more.
Speaking at a meeting with grade A students on Tuesday morning, Prime Minister Hun Sen announced that from now on, students will be allocated the same amount of vaccines as the police force and other priority groups.
មន្ត្រីរាជការរបស់យើងកម្លាំងជួរមុខរបស់យើងដើរទៅដល់ណាកូនសិស្សត្រូវដើរទៅដល់នោះដែរយើងមានកូនសិស្សជាង3លាននាក់អញ្ចឹងនិស្សិតជាង3លាននាក់ដូច្នេះតម្រូវការចាក់ម្ដងគឺ3លានដុសវាមិនពិបាកសម្រាប់កម្ពុជាដែលយើងនឹងមានវ៉ាក់សាំងគ្រប់គ្រាន់ដើម្បីចាក់
Currently, in addition to doctors, the government considers civil servants, teachers, the armed forces, journalists, artists, government workers, and garbage collectors as main priority groups to receive the vaccine. According to the Prime Minister, there are more than 3 million students in Cambodia. According to the Prime Minister, there are more than 3 million students in Cambodia. With schools fully reopened since November 2021, the students are being highlighted as priority group for the COVID-19 vaccines. I'm Decca Nin, EAC News, Phnom Penh.
Prime Minister Hun Sen said that he has recently shed tears when seeing the progress and happiness of the people under his leadership. He made this statement while speaking at the meeting with grade A students on Tuesday morning. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has further details.
Prime Minister Hun Sen said that in recent weeks he had shed happy tears twice. The first time was when he attended the 4th Asian Pacific Water Summit in Japan. While in Japan, Prime Minister Hun Sen met with the Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, who played a music video of a song Japan had written on the hardships of the Cambodian people after the Khmer Rouge regime. Upon watching this video, Prime Minister Hun Sen said he shed tears in front of the Japanese minister. The second time Prime Minister Hun Sen said he shed tears was this morning, after seeing all the changes in Cambodia now compared to the time right after liberation from the Khmer Rouge regime.
ខ្ញុំនឹកសម័យអតីតកាលខ្ញុំមិននឹកស្មានថាយើងមានថ្ងៃនេះទេនៅពេលដែលយើងចាប់ចេញដំណើរដោយបាត់ដៃទៅទេពីរបបប៉ុលពតនៅក្នុងដំណាក់កាលនៃសង្គ្រាមក្រោយសង្គ្រាមហើយខ្ញុំសម័យឃើញនៅក្នុងបទចម្រៀងនោះដែលបានយករូបភាពចាស់ៗយកទៅដាក់ដែលធ្វើឲ្យខ្ញុំនឹកសំណោះភាពខ្លោចសាររបស់ប្រជាជនកម្ពុជាក្នុងអតីតកាលព្រឹកមិញខ្ញុំបានឃើញស្ថានភាពផ្លាស់ប្ដូរសម្រាប់យុវជនរបស់យើងខ្ញុំពិតជាមានមោទនភាពនឹងការរំភើបរហូតដោយស្រស់ទឹកភ្នែកមិនដឹងខ្លួន
Prime Minister Hun Sen, who is currently 69 years old, first became the Minister of Foreign Affairs in 1979 at the age of 27. He has been the Prime Minister of Cambodia since 1985. Prime Minister Hun Sen has led Cambodia with empty hands, from being a country torn apart by war to the country is united and prosperous today. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has said that he does not encourage Cambodian supporters of the Cambodian People's Party and the royal government living abroad to protest against those who want to hold protests against the Prime Minister. EAC News reporter Decca Nin has more.
Speaking at a meeting with grade A students on Tuesday morning, Prime Minister Hun Sen stated that he will travel to the United States on the 10th of May for the ASEAN-US Special Summit and said that there would be opposition groups protesting against his arrival in the country. However, the Prime Minister said that these protesters are allowed to do so because it is their right, so he asked his own supporters to not protest against those groups back.
សូមអង្វរករចំពោះបងប្អូនបងឬប្អូនឬក្មួយឬចៅដែលមកទទួលខ្ញុំនោះមិនចាំបាច់ឃើញគេធ្វើបាតកម្មមកប្រឆាំងខ្ញុំហើយយើងទៅធ្វើបាតកម្មតទេគ្មានការចាំបាច់ដើម្បីធ្វើរឿងបែបនេះទេគណៈបកប្រជាជនឬរាជរដ្ឋាភិបាលមានមនុស្សគាំទ្រនៅក្រៅប្រទេសដែលជានិច្ចកាលទំហំធំជាងចំនួនអ្នកមកធ្វើបាតកម្មប្រឆាំងខ្ញុំ
Prime Minister Hun Sen said that he will meet the US-based Cambodians when he travels to the United States on the 10th of May. Later, on the 14th of May, the Prime Minister will return to Cambodia before departing for Switzerland on the 20th of May. During that visit, he is set to meet with Cambodians living in Switzerland and the European Union. The Prime Minister is expected to meet around 1,000 US-based Cambodians when he arrives in the United States. He will then go on to attend and co-chair the ASEAN-US Special Summit with President Joe Biden in Washington, D.C. I'm Deka Nin, EAC News, Phnom Penh.
The head of the royal government of Cambodia, Prime Minister Hun Sen, has called on journalists to further develop their technical skills and to also increase their capacities in news writing and dissemination of information in order to increase public confidence in the press and to adequately respond to the evolution of digital media technology. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the details.
Prime Minister Hun Sen made this call through a message he released on the occasion of the 29th World Press Freedom Day on Tuesday the 3rd of May. In his message, he said that the 29th World Press Freedom Day highlights a topic of the press in the digital age and calls for more joint efforts to be made by stakeholders to support press freedom and understand the challenges faced by the media due to the growing use and sharing of information on social media. The Prime Minister said that combined with the global economic crisis brought by the COVID-19 pandemic and the global political crisis, both digital and traditional forms of media face financial difficulties, and many media outlets have been forced into closure during this time. Globally, this key issue requires state institutions, the press, journalists and the stakeholders to work together to find common ground to help the media landscape down the path of normalisation. He further added that at the same time, some media outlets are also having to reckon with development of digital media technology, which has put traditional media and journalists up against market competition with online media channels. The Prime Minister said that now any individual, single entry or organisation has its own media channels that can receive and disseminate information at any time at fast speeds and with the most and up-to-date diverse information. In this regard, the Prime Minister said in media, especially traditional media, are required to strive towards digitalisation to enter a greater potential market and provide factual and professional information to increase public confidence and compete with digital and social media. Prime Minister Hun Sen affirmed that the royal government of Cambodia is committed to protecting the right of freedom of expression, freedom of press and promoting the partnership between the royal government and the indispensable media platforms with the framework of multi-party liberal democracy. The royal government has given top priority in the political program to the media in order to fight against corruption and contribute to legal and judicial reform, public administration reform, the promotion of democracy and the rule of law, and respect for human rights to build a society of justice, peace and long-term development, which is the royal government's aspirations and vision and that has thus far achieved great success. World Press Freedom Day is held on 3rd of May every year and aims to promote freedom of expression, freedom of press, media independence and pluralism.
Cambodia has reported only 3 new COVID-19 cases, neither of which were imported. There have been 28 patient recoveries and no new deaths. The kingdom has now recorded 15,816 cases of Omicron, 1,362 imported, and 14,454 community cases. Cambodia's COVID-19 case tally has now climbed to 136,257. The death toll stands at 3,056. The number of patients treated successfully since the pandemic reached Cambodia is 133,144, and the tally for imported cases remains at 21,219. And now for a look at news making international headlines this Tuesday, 3rd May.
A leaked initial draft majority opinion suggests the U.S. Supreme Court will vote to overturn the Roe v. Wade decision that legalized abortion nationwide, Politico reported on Monday, May 2nd. Reuters was not immediately able to confirm the draft independently. If correct, it would be an unprecedented disclosure of a draft Supreme Court opinion. The Supreme Court and the White House declined to comment. Roe was egregiously wrong from the start, Justice Samuel Alito wrote in the draft opinion, which is dated February 10th according to Politico. Four of the other Republican-appointed justices, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett voted with Alito in a conference held among the justices, the report added. It is possible there have been some changes since then. Political reporter Josh Gerstein, who broke the story, said on MSNBC late on Monday. After an initial vote among the justices following the oral argument, one is assigned the majority opinion and writes a draft. It is then circulated among the justices. At times, in between the initial vote and the ruling being released, the vote alignment can change. A ruling is only final when it is published by the court. In a post on Twitter, Neil Katyal, a lawyer who regularly argues before the court, said if the report was accurate, it would be the first major leak from the Supreme Court ever. The court, which has a 6-3 conservative majority, heard oral arguments in December on Mississippi bids to revive its ban on abortion starting at 15 weeks of pregnancy, a law blocked by lower court. According to the Political report, it appears based on December oral's argument that a majority was inclined to uphold Mississippi's abortion ban and that there could be 5 votes to overturn Roe. The 1973 Roe v. Wade decision recognized that the right to personal privacy under the U.S. Constitution protects a woman's ability to terminate her pregnancy. The Supreme Court in a 1992 ruling called Planned Parenthood of Southeastern Pennsylvania versus Casey reaffirmed abortion rights and prohibited laws imposing an undue burden on abortion's access. Mississippi asked the justices to overturn the Roe and Casey rulings.
Christine Geneva auctioned off a 228.31 carat pear-shaped diamond known as the Rock on the 11th of May. Rahul Kadika, international head of jewelry of Christine, said that in the 25 years he was here, this is the largest stone in the shade of they have in sale, so they expect a very high price. The white gemstone was mined and polished in South Africa over 2 decades ago. The May 11th auction will also feature a yellow 205.0 carat diamond known as the Red Cross diamond.
So quite unusual to have 2 200-carat diamonds in one auction. The Red Cross diamond weighs 205 carats, was mined in 1901 at a De Beers mine, also in South Africa, and sold in 1918 at Christie's London at the Red Cross auction during the war.
The stone was offered for sale at the Diamond Syndicate. It achieved £10,000 or $12,500 when the entire auction achieved £50,000 or $62,500. It then came back for sale at Christine's in Geneva, this time in 1973 where it has achieved 1.8 million Swiss francs or $1.8 million. And now for the third time in 104 years, the Red Cross diamond will come up for sale again in Geneva on May the 11th. The fancy brilliant cut diamond gets yellow colour from its nitrogen atoms. Its estimated selling price is between $7 to $10 million. Part of the proceeds from the sale will go to International Red Cross. Kadaka says he is optimistic about the upcoming auction with investors who can grab the opportunity to buy art imported diamonds as a hedge against what's going on in the world.
When Hong Kong selects its new leader on May 8th, there will be only one candidate, the city's former deputy leader and former security official John Lee. Since 1997, there have been 4 chief executives, all of whom have struggled to balance the democratic aspirations of some residents within the vision of China's Communist Party leaders. The current election will be the first time since the city's return to Chinese rule with only one candidate in the running. The new chief executive takes office on July 1st. John Lee, who announced his intention to run for the city's top job on April 6 this year, only revealed his policy platform 3 weeks later, revealing on Friday that he intended to start a new chapter for Hong Kong. His policy proposals include enhancing the city's governance, increasing the housing supply, and maintaining its international status. Lee, who started his career as a policeman and has been closely involved with the implementation of a new security law introduced in 2020, was also Hong Kong's top security official during the mass pro-democracy protests of 2019. According to political scientist and former legislator Kenneth Chan, an associate professor at Hong Kong Baptist University, Beijing's de facto choice of Lee as the city's new leader reflects a desire to further tighten the city's security regime. Hong Kong selects a leader every 5 years under a process that Beijing oversees behind the scenes. The city's 7.4 million people have no say in who leads them. City leaders are chosen in a vote by an election committee stacked with pro-Beijing loyalists, ensuring that Beijing approves the decision. The election was initially scheduled for March but was postponed because of a COVID-19 outbreak in which more than 1 million people have been infected. In a major overhaul of Hong Kong's electoral system last year to meet Beijing's demands that only patriots run the city, the committee was enlarged to 1,500 from 1,200 members. The nomination process was also tightened, with all candidates requiring committee nominations and undergoing a subsequent screening process. Hong Kong's mini-constitution, the Basic Law, provides for the eventual implementation of universal suffrage for the territory is an eventual goal, but discontent over the electoral system has contributed to the city's massive protest movements in both 2014 and 2019. The Hong Kong government has repeatedly said that rights and protections, including freedom of speech, are protected by a new national security law that went into effect in 2020 and refers to the current electoral arrangements as an improvement over previous arrangements. Jerome Cohen, an emeritus professor at the New York University School of Law and an internationally renowned expert on Chinese politics, said he expected Hong Kong's integration with the security system in mainland China to be strengthened further under Lee's administration. Hong Kong residents speaking to Reuters said many young people now feel disconnected from the political process and that public interest in the new change of leadership was muted due to the inability or the option to choose their own leaders. Israel lambasted Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Monday for claiming Adolf Hitler had Jewish origins, saying it was an unforgivable falsehood that debased the horrors of the Nazi Holocaust.
Leaders from several Western nations denounced the foreign minister's comments, and Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia of having forgotten the two lessons of World War II. In a sign of sharply deteriorating relations with Moscow, the Israel foreign minister summons the Russian ambassador and demanded an apology. Such lies are intended to accuse the Jewish themselves of the most horrific crimes in history that committed against them, Israel Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said in a statement. The use of the Holocaust of the Jewish people for the political purpose must stop immediately, he said. Lavrov made the association on Italian television on Sunday when he was asked why Russia is needed to densify Ukraine if the country's own president, Volodymyr Zelensky, was himself Jewish. When they say, what sort of Nazification is this if we are Jews? Well, I think it's Hitler also had Jewish origins, so it means nothing, Lavrov told Rete 4 channel, speaking through an Italian interpreter. For a long time now, we've been hearing the wise Jewish people say that the biggest anti-Semitists are the Jewish themselves, he added. Zelensky, in his nightly video message, noted Moscow has been silent since Lavrov's comments. This means that the Russian leadership has forgotten all the lessons of World War II, he said, or perhaps they have never learnt those lessons. Israel Foreign Minister Yair Lapid, whose grandfather died in the Holocaust, said accusing Jews of being anti-Semitic was the basest level of racism. He dismissed Lavrov's association with the pro-Nazi elements held sway over the Ukraine government and military. The Ukrainians aren't Nazis. Only the Nazis were Nazis, and only they dealt with systematic destruction of the Jewish people, Lapid told Ynet News website.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Sunday said that Russia's upcoming Victory Day celebrations on May 9th will have no bearing on the pace of its special military operation in Ukraine.
Если он говорит, что на Украине... Да, я слышал, как он сказал.
We will solemnly celebrate May 9th as we always do, Lavrov said in an interview with Italy's Mediaset broadcaster. The pace of the operation in Ukraine depends, first of all, on the need to mitigate risks for civilians and Russian troops, he added. When asked whether Russia wants Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to surrender, the minister said Moscow doesn't demand that he surrender, but demands that he gives the order to release all civilians and stop resistance. Meanwhile, 7 military facilities of Ukraine were hit by high-precision missiles of the Russian aerospace forces during the latest development of its military operation, including 4 areas of concentration of forces and military equipment, as well as 3 warehouses of missile and artillery weapons and ammunition in the areas of the settlements of Berezovo in Donetsk, Slatino and Barvenkovo in the Kharkov region, spokesman for the Russian Defense Ministry Igor Konashenkov told reporters on Sunday. He also noted that the Russian armed forces destroyed a hangar with weapons and ammunition delivered from the United States and European countries to the Odessa region, using high-precision missiles as well as a military airfield runway. Civilian evacuation from the Azovstal plant in the besieged city of Mariupol continued on Sunday, with 80 civilians evacuated from the site, the Russian Defense Ministry said. The evacuation is a result of ceasefire and the opening of a humanitarian corridor, the ministry said in a statement. According to the ministry, the civilians who wished to leave were delivered to the representatives of the UN and the International Committee of the Red Cross. Zelensky said earlier on Sunday that an evacuation from the steel plant had begun and the evacuees were set to arrive in the southern Ukrainian city of Zaporizhzhia on Monday. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz on Sunday said his country would send more weapons to Ukraine while lashing out at anti-war activists who urged him not to do so. This came after Germany on April 24th announced its first delivery of heavy weapons to Ukraine after weeks of pressure at home and abroad to do so amid confusion over its stance. Meanwhile, Germany also took the side of the European Union and announced its support to ban imported oil from Russia, and the EU is also seeking to launch its 6th round of sanctions against Russia, according to Reuters. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov slammed the West's moves and said that the Western nations have actually stolen more than $300 billion from Russia when they sieged the money meant to pay for Russian gas, which is intolerable, during an interview with Al Arabiya TV on April 29th. Gustavo Petro, the leftist frontrunner in Colombia's presidential election, on Monday canceled events in the country's Rafi region because of what his office said was a plot by a crime gang to attempt to take his life.
Petro, a former M19 guerrilla and mayor of Bogota, was scheduled to travel to the region, including the city of Manizales, on Tuesday and Wednesday ahead of the scheduled vote on May 29th. But the visit has been called off after Petro's security team got information that the La Cordillera crime gang was planning an attack, his office said in a statement. According to work carried out by the security team, which received first-hand information from sources in the area, the criminal group La Cordillera was planning to make an attempt on the life of presidential candidate Gustavo Petro, said the statement without providing further evidence. Campaign press officers confirmed the authenticity of the statement. Colombia's national police said later on Monday they had no information regarding a plot against Petro, adding that he had robust protection measures. La Cordillera, which operates largely in the coffee region, has been blamed by police for the death of a local organizer of anti-government marches which swept the country a year ago. Petro led an opinion poll last week with 43.6% of prospective first-round votes, while his closest rival, the center-right, Federico Gutierrez, tallied 26.7%. Petro has attracted support of his promises to right profound income inequality in the Andean country, including via a distribution of pension savings. But investors have warned the pension plan and his pledge to halt new oil projects could put the country's economic stability at risk. The 62-year-old will face a divided Congress if he wins the presidency, with centrist and right-leaning parties largely throwing their support behind Gutierrez.
Let's have a look at today's finance. The CSX index is currently at 523.35 points, down 4.43 points or 0.84%. The daily exchange rate is 4,048 Khmer Rial to the USD. Now a look at what else is happening in finance around the world.
HSBC shares rise as markets warm up to a breakup proposal by a top shareholder. Shares in HSBC Holdings gained on Tuesday after the largest shareholder, Chinese insurance giant Ping An, urged a breakup of the London-headquartered bank in a bid to improve returns. Sources familiar with the situation said on Friday that the Ping An had called a HSBC to look at options including spinning off an Asian business where it earns 2/3 of its pre-tax profits or taking other steps to boost their valuation. HSBC shares added 1.85% in Hong Kong trade, helping lift the broader market, which edged up 0.1% to pair earlier market declines. The Hong Kong and London browsers were closed on Monday for holiday. The Asian makes up the majority of HSBC revenue suggests a spin-off may be logical, but it needs to be balanced by a fact that a significant portion of it is a result of the HSBC global footprint bringing east of west, said Justin Tang, head of the Asian research at the investment advisory firm of First Partners. HSBC, Europe's largest bank, has not committed on Ping An's involvement and have defended its overall strategy in the statement, saying it is believed it had the right strategy and was focused on executing it. Wall Street closes sharply lower on Amazon slump inflation worries. Wall Street slid on Friday with its deepest daily losses since 2020 as Amazon slumped following a gloomy quarterly report, as the biggest surge in the monthly inflation since 2005 spooked investors already worried about the rising interest rates. Amazon tumbled 14.05% in its steepest one-day drop since 2006, leaving the widely held stock near 2 years' lows. Late on Thursday, the e-commerce gain delivered a disappointing quarter and the outlook swamped by higher costs. Apple, the world's most valuable company, dropped 3.66% after its disappointing outlook overshadowed record quarter profit sales. All 11 SP 500 sector indexes fell, led by a lower 5.9% slide of the consumer directory and a 4.9% drop in real estate. The SP 500 lodged its largest one-day decline since June 2020. The Nasdaq's decline was the largest since September 2020. The Nasdaq has lost almost 13% in April, its worst monthly performance since the global financial crisis in 2008. The SP 500 has fallen 13% so far in 2020, its steepest four-month decline at the start of the year since 1939. Adding to fears on Wall Street, data showed the personal consumption expenditures price index, the Fed's favourable measure inflation, shot up 0.9% in March after climbing 0.5% in February. Scared of being left in a digital dust, private equity investments are stampeding towards crypto projects. Blockchain-based apps and platforms fuel the cryptocurrencies that are native to the vital economics of the metaverse of Web3. VC investments in such projects totaled $10 billion globally in the first quarter of this year, the largest quarterly sum ever and more than double the level seen in the same period of a year ago, according to data from PitchBook. A trickle has become a torrent. The full year's totals of 2019, 2020 and 2021 were $3.7 billion or $5.5 billion and $28 billion. You're seeing a lot of VC investments into a lot of protocols because they are believed, as we do, that some of these protocols are the infrastructure of the future, said Steve Ehrlich, CEO of crypto brokerage firm Voyage Digital. Some projects which can range from crypto and NFT exchanges to decentralized finance applications are token issue and often known as protocols in reference to the rules embedded in their computer code. The recent action is different from the past when the venture investment level tends to track the price of Bitcoin, albeit with a short delay, according to Alex Tom, head of firm-wide research and blockchain-focused bank Galaxy Digital in New York. Investment levels in crypto have continued to grow during the Bitcoin price slump this year. It's down about 16%, as well as during another decline as summer, Thorne notes. This decoupling is demonstrative of investors that believe that the prolonged bear market in digital assets is forthcoming, as well as the significant amounts of dry powder held in by funds seeking to allocate to sector, he wrote last week. The VC crypto craze in 2022 is also coincided with a slump with a tech-heavy Nasdaq benchmark, which is down 21%.
After the break, a look at all the latest sports news.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
German tennis great Boris Becker was jailed on Friday, 29th April, for 2.5 years after being found guilty of 4 offenses under the Insolvency Act of 1986 following a bankruptcy trial in London.
The 54-year-old 6-time Grand Slam champion was found guilty after a trial at Southwark Crown Court earlier this month over offences committed from May to October 2017. He was acquitted of a number of other charges. Becker, a former number 1 who won Wimbledon 3 times, was made bankrupt on June 21, 2017 at the London High Court in connection with a debt to private bankers Arbuthnot Latham and Company. Under the terms of the bankruptcy order, he was bound to provide full disclosures of assets. The charges Becker was convicted on included removing property totaling close to 427,000 euros from his bankruptcy estate, failing to disclose ownership of a property in Leimen in Germany, concealing a loan of 825,000 euros from the Bank of Alpinum of Liechtenstein, and ownership of 75,000 shares in Breaking Data Corp. On Friday, he was given a 30-month jail term at Southwark Crown Court. Becker became a tennis icon in the 1980s, winning Wimbledon as an unseeded 17-year-old in 1985 and successfully defending his title in 1986. He also won the US Open and was a 2-time Australian Open champion. During his trial, the court heard Becker earned $50 million during his career but had an expensive lifestyle, including divorcing his wife Barbara in 2001.
Katie Taylor retained her undisputed lightweight world championship on Saturday with a split decision victory over Amanda Serrano on a historic night in Madison Square Garden, New York, in front of a raucous sellout crowd.
The Irishwoman, who stretched her unbeaten professional record to 21 wins, 0 losses, and Serena with the first woman to headline the fight of the world's most famous arena and put on a show-stopping performance equal to occasion. Taylor kept the fight on the outside to begin with before deciding to stand and trade in the 4th and 5th, and she almost paid dearly for the decision as Serena connected. Her legs were still wobbling well into the 6th round, but she managed to dig deep and get back on the outside, picking off the challenger and scoring simple combinations. Taylor went out for the finish and the final round, punching as the final bell approached, but then the work was done and the judges convinced that Taylor's hand was one that deserved a raise after the epic encounter. Competing after the watchful eye of the pioneering Hall of Fame Christy Martin in the biggest fight in the history of the women's boxing, the meeting between the 2 best pound-for-pound boxers ushered in a new era for the sport. The famed boxing venue was planned host to luminaries such as Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, but had never seen 2 women headline before, and the event set the Big Apple buzzing to its core. Promoter Matchroom Boxing said the fight attracted more media applications than Britain Anthony Joshua's heavyweights fights at Wembley against Waldemar Klitschko and against Oscar Usyk and Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The packed stadium is unbelievable. It was absolutely special. Special moment. The best night of my career for sure. I wasn't sure if anything could have reached my Olympic gold medal moment, but tonight was absolutely the best moment of my career, said Taylor.
Sold out MSG.
And now for a look at how the weather will be playing out tomorrow. And finally, known for celebrities in over-the-top outfits, the Met Gala returned to its traditional date of the first Monday in May, just 8 months after 2021's pandemic-delayed event in September.
A-list stars who walked the red carpet at the Met Gala included James McAvoy, Carey Mulligan, Claire Danes, Gwen Stefani, Alicia Keys, Jared Leto, Emma Stone, Michelle Yeoh, Joe Jonas, Sophie Turner, Olivia Rodriguez, Gigi and Bella Hadid, Frederick Robertson, Sarah Jessica Parker, and many more. Even Elon Musk, the man of the hour after the purchase of Twitter, walked the red carpet.
The goal that I have, should everything come to fruition with Twitter, is to have a service that is as broadly inclusive as possible, where ideally most of America is on it and talking, and having facilitating discussion between people and sharing ideas and content and creative things, whether they're written or video or podcasts.
Model Cara Delevingne posed at the annual Met Gala with her fashion statement to free the nipple. Musician Lizzo, who is a trained classical flute player, walked the carpet and played a gold flute for the cameras. Singer Billie Eilish appeared on the red carpet in a light green Gucci gown that she said was made with recycled materials to be eco-friendly. When asked about the pricing of his clothing, James McAvoy said that he just received the invitation and clothes from Armani, and he is not in a position to answer that question properly.
But then when we get things really cheap, we've got to look at the human cost of that as well. So I think we get the whole spectrum, but it's quite complicated, and I, for one, get confused by it quite easily. So I couldn't really answer that question from a point of or a position of authority, I'm afraid.
New York City mayor attended the gala with his wife and pointed out that he has seen changes in the fashion industry.
I'm really pleased how the fashion industry has started to readjust itself. Many of the events that I attended, they're talking about hair texture, skin tone, body types. So we're in a really good place, and I'm excited right here. New York is the center of the universe.
A couple decided to make the night extra special by getting engaged on the stairs of the Met Gala. U.S. First Lady Jill Biden helped celebrate the opening of the Metropolitan Museum of Art's costume exhibition titled In America, an Anthology of Fashion.
The history of American design is rich and deep. It is a story of innovation and ingenuity, of rebellion and renewal. It has often been written by those in the shadows, not recognized for their influence and art. But here at the Met, their stories are told. Their voices are raised and their work can shine.
This year, the gala's theme explores American fashion during the 19th and 20th centuries through approximately 100 garments presented in various settings, created by 9 film directors including Martin Scorsese and Chloe Zhao. Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Regina King, and Lin-Manuel Miranda all served as the event's co-hosts. The exhibit will officially open to the public on the 3rd of May after the conclusion of the museum's annual fundraising event, which is considered the biggest night in fashion. This year's invitation-only A-list guests were told to dress in gilded glamour.
Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. For more breaking news and updates, you can check out our website, eacnews.asia, or search EAC News on Smart TV, Telegram, or at your favorite app store. More from the EAC News team tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We will see you then.